What happens when the children of a powerful president become his biggest scandal? Jacob Zuma thought he was building an unshakable dynasty, but today, that dynasty is crumbling before the world's eyes. One son was accused of corruption, another entangled in murder allegations, a daughter turning her father's name into a weapon online, and behind the scenes, rivalries so bitter they've torn the Zuma family apart. This isn't just a political crisis, it's a family implosion. South Africa once feared Zuma's grip on power. Now they're watching the shocking collapse of his empire, destroyed not by enemies, but by his own children. This is the scandalous story of how Jacob Zuma's dynasty is collapsing from the inside. Let's find out more on Empire Elegance. Jacob Zuma, once South Africa's most powerful man, rose from humble beginnings in Nkandla to the highest office in the country. But behind the charisma and charm, there were cracks in his empire, cracks that would eventually threaten everything he had built. How does a leader so popular and beloved by many unravel so spectacularly? To understand the collapse of the Zuma dynasty, we must first look at the man himself, his career, controversies, and the scandals that shook a nation. From the age of 17, Zuma devoted himself to the African National Congress, ANC, even enduring 10 years on Robben Island. But his career was shadowed by scandal. Fired as deputy president in 2005, tried for rape in 2006, and accused of corruption in the infamous Gupta state capture. When taxpayer money was spent upgrading his Nkandla homestead, the outrage was unstoppable. By 2018, Zuma was forced to resign, and later even jailed for contempt of court, a stunning fall from power. But the real implosion wasn't happening in parliament. It was happening inside his own home. With 6 wives and more than 20 children, Zuma had built not just a political empire, but a sprawling dynasty. He called it culture. He called it pride. But what the public saw was a family drowning in scandal. And if Zuma's presidency was controversial, his children would push the chaos even further. His family, once seen as a symbol of tradition and wealth, is now unraveling before the public eye. What happened to the Zuma dynasty? How did a family that followed centuries-old Zulu traditions turn into a household of scandal, betrayal, and chaos? The answer lies in the lives of Zuma's children, more than 20 in total, each tangled in controversies that have shaken the family to its core. Zuma's personal life has always been a point of fascination and controversy. A polygamist in line with traditional Zulu culture, he has been married 6 times. From his first marriage to Gertrude Khumalo in 1973, which produced no children, to later unions that brought more than 20 offspring, Zuma's household was always large, complex, and public. Alongside his official marriages, Zuma fathered children outside wedlock, embracing a lifestyle he openly defended. "I prefer to be open," Zuma said once. "I love my wives, and I'm proud of my children." But while he spoke of pride and tradition, the public has watched his family fall apart under the weight of scandal. Even as he claimed that African cultural practices allowed such arrangements, Zuma's children have repeatedly made headlines, not for their achievements, but for controversies that have splashed the family name across newspapers and social media. And the first was the son once seen as his heir, Duduzile Zuma. Duduzile Zuma. From heir to controversy, Duduzile Zuma, Zuma's most famous son, was once groomed to carry on his father's political legacy. With business connections and political ambitions, he seemed poised for influence. But Duduzile's image as a wealthy playboy and businessman became inseparable from controversy. He was drawn into the infamous Gupta state capture scandal, a sprawling investigation into corruption and undue influence in South Africa's government. Accusations of fraud and corruption followed him, and banks even froze accounts linked to his ventures. At one point, Duduzile moved to Dubai, citing political attacks and difficulty doing business in South Africa. Luxury cars, multi-million-dollar apartments, and international travel painted him as living a life far removed from the average citizen. Videos of him cruising in sports cars, dressed in dark suits and enjoying a life of opulence, went viral, sparking public outrage. While some defended him, saying he had the right to enjoy his wealth, others accused him of exploiting his family name and benefiting from his father's political influence. Duduzile's controversies weren't limited to business. His very presence in politics and social circles reminded South Africans of the complicated web connecting Zuma's presidency, corruption scandals, and the growing perception of the Zuma family as a symbol of excess and impunity. But Duduzile wasn't the only twin carrying the Zuma name into controversy. While he made headlines in the business world, his sister Duduzile was building a scandal of her own, not in boardrooms but online. Duduzile Zuma Sambudla, born 20th May 1982, is one of the most prominent children of former South African President Jacob Zuma. Known for her outspoken defense of her father and her active presence on social media, she has often found herself at the center of political and legal storms. Her personal life has drawn significant attention. In 2010, she married businessman Lonwabo Sambudla in what was described as South Africa's Wedding of the Year. The Paris-themed ceremony at Inkwenkwezi Game Reserve featured Swarovski-encrusted gowns, a diamond necklace worth 1.5 million rand, and a guest list filled with cabinet ministers, celebrities, and business moguls. Duduzile's love for Paris inspired the theme, while elephants roamed the grounds as she exchanged vows. The lavish affair cemented her image as a high-profile member of the Zuma dynasty, blending politics, wealth, and celebrity culture. Yet Duduzile has always been more than a socialite. She is currently a member of parliament, representing the Umkhonto we Sizwe (MK) party, which her father formed after leaving the ANC. Loyal to him, she campaigned alongside Zuma in the 2024 general elections and was later elected to the Pan-African Parliament in July 2024. Her prominence, however, has come with controversy. During the 2021 riots that followed Jacob Zuma's imprisonment for contempt of court, Duduzile was accused of sharing incendiary posts on Twitter, now X, allegedly encouraging looting and violence. The unrest left more than 350 people dead, caused over £1.5 billion in damages, and was described as the worst civil turmoil since apartheid. Prosecutors allege Duduzile incited terrorism and public violence by urging protesters to cause more damage in support of her father. In January 2025, the 42-year-old MP handed herself to police in Durban and appeared in court on terrorism and incitement charges, the first case of its kind in South Africa based on social media content. She was released on warning while awaiting trial in November 2025. Her lawyer acknowledged she made posts about the unrest, but denied they incited violence. Beyond the courtroom, Duduzile's voice remains influential. She has been accused of fronting a Russian-backed Twitter campaign to drum up South African support for Moscow's war in Ukraine, further fueling debate around her role as both politician and online activist. Zuma's children often clash, and not just in whispers behind closed doors. Rivalries over inheritance, wealth distribution, and political influence have frequently spilled into the media. Children from different wives compete for status, recognition, and control of family resources, making the once respected Zuma name appear chaotic. One daughter's extravagant Parisian wedding ended in bitter divorce, followed by legal battles over maintenance, property, and luxury vehicles. Another daughter became engaged to King Mswati III of Eswatini, intertwining royal politics with family pride and cultural tradition. Meanwhile, some children live in the shadows, far from the media glare, highlighting inequality and division within the family. The disparities between wealth, visibility, and opportunity have created tensions that extend beyond typical family disagreements. Above all, Zuma's children are known for living in opulence. Duduzile's Dubai lifestyle, filled with high-rise apartments, luxury cars, and designer clothing, starkly contrasts with other family members who lead quieter, less public lives. Duduzile's extravagant wedding, international vacations, and costly accessories further reinforce the perception of excess. These displays of wealth have not gone unnoticed. In a country where millions face poverty and inequality, the Zuma family's lavish lifestyles fuel public resentment. Observers see a family more consumed by self-interest and personal gain than by leadership or responsibility, undermining the dynasty's cultural and political influence. The once mighty Zuma name, synonymous with Zulu tradition, political power, and public admiration, is now tied more closely to scandal than authority. The state capture inquiry, the social media tirades, the opulent lifestyles, and the inheritance battles have all chipped away at the family's credibility. From 2010, when Duduzile rose in business and politics, to 2019, when state capture investigations intensified, the Zuma children were increasingly scrutinized. Even Jacob Zuma's own life reflects this chaos. His polygamous lifestyle, adherence to traditional cultural norms, and prolific fatherhood were meant to create a strong, interconnected family. Instead, these same factors contributed to public scandal, legal troubles, and personal strife among his children. Can the Zuma dynasty survive public exposure and internal strife? Will Duduzile and Duduzile overcome their controversies, or will their scandals define the family for generations? And how will Zuma's younger children navigate the shadows of fame, wealth, and expectation? These questions linger as each revelation reminds South Africans that the family's troubles are far from over. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to Empire Elegance and hit the notification bell for more powerful stories about the lives and legacies of the world's most influential figures. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in our next video.